This is Matthew Schaefer, and to say he's beaten expectations during his rookie season would be a massive understatement. So far, what he has been able to do on the ice has been nothing short of incredible. And although he was the first overall pick, I'm not sure anybody expected him to be this good this soon. So in this video, we're going to look at how. How has Matthew Schaefer become one of the NHL's best defensemen through just 42 games at the time of this recording? How has he gone from largely the consensus, yet not undisputed first overall pick, to a Norris candidate and a serious contender for the Olympic team within a matter of months? So without further ado, let's get into things. Winding back to last season, Matthew Schaefer began the year as someone expected to go in the top 5 of the draft. For large portions of last season, both Michael Misa and James Hagens looked like they could potentially be picked first overall alongside Matthew Schaefer. So many scouts were excited to watch the World Junior Championship to see which prospects would stand out among others. And although Michael Misa somehow was not named to the Canadian World Junior roster, Matthew Schaefer was. However, you will likely remember that he was sidelined following the second game of the tournament after taking a brutal run into the net against Latvia. Schaefer required surgery and would miss the majority of his draft year, finishing with 17 points in 22 games with Erie. And although he was one of the top prospects among scouts, the lack of sample size meant he was far from a surefire first overall pick. However, come draft day, the Islanders made Schaefer their selection, and that pick already looks like it was most definitely the right one. So far in 42 games with the New York Islanders, Matthew Schaefer has 12 goals and 16 assists for 28 points. As a rookie defenseman, he is on pace for over 20 goals and over 50 points on an Islanders team that was not expected by many to be in playoff contention. However, what's even more impressive is that Matthew Schaefer has been just as good in the defensive zone as he has in the offensive zone. Schaefer was projected as a two-way defenseman coming into the NHL who would defend with his feet and active stick. Although I thought he would one day be a rock-solid two-way defenseman that could shut down other teams' best players, I did not expect that to be the case just halfway through his rookie season. As I have mentioned in previous videos, one of my favorite tools to use in the advanced analytics space is sshockeycontact. It's a clear way to illustrate how a player is performing in the microstat areas of the game, and although I don't believe advanced analytics should be used as a replacement to the eye test, I think the two can coexist in a way that paints a better picture of players. If we look at Matthew Schaefer's stats card as of December 11th, he ranked in the 81st percentile offensively, as well as the 95th percentile defensively. And if we look at the impact category, he ranks in the 97th percentile across the NHL, and additionally, we can see his role difficulty at the 81st percentile, showing that he has not been sheltered throughout his young NHL career. Now, it's one thing to be an analytical darling, but it's another when you actually put up the points to match the advanced stats. If we look at the NHL defenseman scoring list, Matthew Schaefer is tied for third in the entire league with 12 goals. From a points perspective, he is just outside of the top 15, currently at 16th with 28. And if Schaefer is able to stay on this pace goal-scoring wise, he will shatter the record for the most goals scored by an 18-year-old defenseman in NHL history. Currently, only Bobby Orr and Phil Housley have more with 13 and 17 goals respectively. Matthew Schaefer is already at 12, and he does not turn 19 for the remainder of this NHL season. Even if he slows down dramatically, he will shatter an incredibly impressive NHL record. And to add to that record book, he is also the youngest defenseman in NHL history to score an overtime goal. And one further, he became the youngest defenseman in NHL history to reach the 10-goal mark, doing it about 200 days faster than Phil Housley. And perhaps one more record he could break is Brian Leetch scoring 23 goals as a rookie defenseman. Schaefer is on pace to break that record, and considering what he has shown so far, it's certainly not out of the realm of possibility. So now I think we all understand that Matthew Schaefer is one of the most impressive rookies we have ever seen. But like I said at the start of this video, the big question is how he has become this impactful seemingly overnight. And to begin answering this question, we need to look at Schaefer's biggest attribute, his skating. Going back to his draft year and really his entire time being a highly touted prospect, the biggest draw to Matthew Schaefer's game is how good of a skater he is. We saw this during his time in the OHL, and it really stood out at the World Juniors, albeit in a small sample size. People knew this kid was an incredible skater that could open up the game for himself and teammates alike. And the skating has translated to the NHL seamlessly. In fact, if we just watch some of these clips, you can see how he is both willing to jump up into the rush to create odd man opportunities, but he is also able to carry the puck himself coast to coast while flying past the defending players. It's also the skating that allows him to get back into defensive positioning if and when he does jump up and get caught out of his own zone. He can seemingly close the gap as well as anybody else in the NHL, and it was this skating that caused many to compare him to players like Jake Sanderson and Miro Heiskanen in his draft year. If you're someone like me who loves to observe attributes quantifiably, NHL Edge shows just how impressive Schaefer's skating is. His top skating speed this season is 22.93 miles per hour, which ranks in the 94th percentile across the league. Additionally, he has skated just under 150 miles accumulatively, which ranks in the 98th percentile, and if you watch just how active he is on the ice, this shouldn't come as any sort of surprise. But in order to generate offense from this skating ability, you have to be able to pass, handle, and shoot the puck at an NHL level as well. And this was the area of the game that I expected to take a little bit longer to develop for Matthew Schaefer. His passing as a prospect was great, but he wasn't someone touted as having a cannon of a shot or the hands to slip through defense at ease. As a matter of fact, the offensive game was impressive, but nothing mind-blowing with Erie in the OHL. Crazily enough, although he has played around 30 more games in junior compared to the NHL, he has already exceeded his goal scoring from his entire OHL career. It's why he was touted as a two-way defenseman rather than an offensive defenseman. And to add to this prediction, it's more important to remember that Matthew Schaefer barely had a draft season because of his injury. It would be fair to assume that there would be some time getting back up to game speed, especially considering he was moving to the NHL from the OHL. But in somewhat of anomalous fashion, Schaefer's offense seemed miles ahead of where it was during his junior career. If we look at some of these clips, Matthew Schaefer is both creating for himself as well as his teammates. But more importantly, he's showing offensive instincts and the ability to break down defenses at a caliber much greater than he showed in junior. His recent game against the Toronto Maple Leafs, where he scored 2 goals, shows just exactly how his offense has taken a step forward in multiple areas. On this goal, we can see Matthew Schaefer use that skating ability to drive past the Toronto defenders, and as he approaches Joseph Woll, he is able to make a very strong power move that most players, especially defensemen, are incapable of doing. It was a do-it-yourself goal that showed exactly what Schaefer does at a high level, but in overtime we saw another way in which he can get on the score sheet. On this play, it wasn't Schaefer carrying the puck, but rather finding room on the ice where he would be left all alone. With plenty of time and space, he makes the perfect shot in between the glove and pad area, beating Joseph Woll and getting the Islanders the win. This is something we have seen plenty of times through his rookie season so far, but another strong area for Schaefer is his ability to move laterally in order to find shooting lanes from the blue line. It's one thing to be able to find the net with your shot, but it's another skill entirely to use lateral quickness in order to open up lanes that shot blockers cannot get to before firing it on net. And whether doing it to get a tip in front, score yourself, or to create chaos in front of the opposing team's net, all outcomes are seemingly positive. Matthew Schaefer has shown an elite ability to do this, and it is one of the most reliable skills a defenseman can have, because it is nearly impossible to shut down point shots regardless of how tightly a game is being checked. And although it's intangible, perhaps the most exciting aspect of Schaefer's game for the Islanders fans is just how much he cares and how excited he is every time he steps onto the ice. He's already won the hearts of many through the tragic story of his mother, but the effort he gives night in and night out, the attitude he takes with him to the rink every day, and the sheer amount of care he has for the sport of hockey and his team is something incredibly hard to find. So although Matthew Schaefer has been incredible so far in his NHL career, I have no doubt that he is just scratching the surface. Considering his potential, he has the ability to become one of, if not the best defenseman in the NHL one day. What he is doing as an 18-year-old is unlike anything we have ever seen before. Literally. In every setting, he comes off incredibly humble and also has the mental strength that I believe many people find highly commendable. And with that, we have answered just exactly how Matthew Schaefer has shattered seemingly all expectations he had coming into the NHL as a rookie. If you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you left it a like and subscribe to the channel. Also be sure to let me know what kinds of videos you guys want to see in the future down in the comments below, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.